Gazdic will be joining us right now, Sportsnet hockey analyst, of course, host of the Mitts Off Pod. You can follow that at Mitts Off Pod on Twitter. Of course, he's on Twitter at Luke Gazdic. And we welcome in this morning. Luke, thanks for taking the time to join us once again. Dustin Nielsen on vacation in San Diego, a well-earned and deserved vacation, taking time off from, most importantly, his phone, I think, in all of this, to have some time with his family. But myself, Lieutenant Eric Jason Milne, joining me as well, and Zach Tickham behind the monitors. But, Luke, I just wanted to start off getting into last night. I don't know what emotion you draw up from that Coyotes final home game. I mean, you had the white shirts, jerseys out there, but also dotted with a little blue and orange in that, small cedar Tempe College arena. What kind of thoughts were pouring over you as you were watching the pregame? The club was fired up on the ice, and rightfully so. They come away with the win. But your thoughts on the final game down there in the state of Arizona for now?
Yeah, obviously emotional night for a lot of people. One of the points I've made from the start, which looks to be resolved now, but we're not sure. It looks like they're keeping the AHL team there in terms of keeping some of the business staff around. Mm-hmm. But one of the things I think too, first and foremost, is the business staff and the relationships that I had with people from game day operations to community relations to ticket sales and marketing. When I come back to Edmonton, I still take a walk through corporate and still say hi to some of the people that I became friends with in working there. So I hope that too many people's jobs aren't, people aren't suffering from this, from the move. But it was always a cool place for us to go play, just because of all the Alberta snowbirds that were there. Even when they were in Glendale, I mean, I never got the chance to play in Mullet, but the amount of Oiler fans that would come in and pack there was always cool. And listen, I thought about the guys first and foremost on the team. But it sounds like some of them are excited to move and be a part of something bigger and get treated a little better. But first and foremost, hopefully the business staff find some jobs at the end of the day. And I know Bill Armstrong took them all onto the ice after and took a photo. So it's people like that I think of that take the brunt of these big decisions that have no say in the move whatsoever.
Yeah, and Jay brought that up earlier today as well, and that's kind of it's not always shown on the cameras and broadcast during the play, but certainly an important part and an ingredient in success of an organization. But you mentioned too a positive. Salt Lake's getting a pretty good club here, right? I mean, I think the forward group is young, fun to watch. Maybe you clean up in a few other areas. But I think with the depressing story that was the Coyotes over these last few years, going to a market now with an owner that's very excited, an untapped market, I guess you could say, but getting this team as a gift to you as a Salt Lake City resident or hockey fan or whatever, that's not a bad place to start with this club and this roster as it is.
Honestly, this might be better than expansion.
Yeah.
They have a really pretty solid young core of guys with Dylan Guenther and Logan Cooley, and I'll even include Clayton Keller in that. They have a closet full of draft picks, 10 second rounders next 3 years. They have 0 up into next millions a cap room. So, pretty to be anytime.
Let's pause him, Zach. We'll just pause, Luke. If you could reconnect or try to the audio was just cutting in and out, something peculiar there. So we'll just give Luke time to do a quick reconnect. Luke Gazdic as well, a Sportsnet hockey analyst, of course, host of the Mitts Off podcast as well. But he made a good point with the staff and everything like that, and I'd have to agree because here we go. Let's give a test.
Am I coming?
Am
I coming through better?
Beautiful.
How's that sound, guys?
Great.
Is that clear?
Crystal clear.
Wow. Oh, I made the old rookie mistake. I had the microphone set on my AirPods, not my beautiful microphone that's sitting right in front of me.
We've done that a few times here before as well. That's par for the course here, Luke.
Well, I don't know what you guys caught, but honestly, they have an absolute gift that they're walking into in Salt Lake. A closet full of prospects, draft picks, and they're going to spend. This is a first-year team, and they're going to want to get the fans in the stands and the fans on board and buying into this early. So a successful product on the ice helps that. it's a pretty cool situation for them to be walking into, and hopefully they upgrade all the stuff there. I know they need some help at the rink, and he talked about building a practice rink, but in terms of bare bones of what's going over to Salt Lake, it looks better than an expansion team, to be honest.
In terms of the other team on the ice last night, the Edmonton Oilers, I mean, we've been canvassing opinion here. And again, I just think it's quite remarkable, too, with the start they had to the season. We're now sitting here and they're not using or needing that final game to kind of qualify or get in or whatever. It's good. One texter pointed out, I mean, you go through a decade of darkness. Waiting is one of those privileges of being a good team right now. You've done your work, and they had a lot of work to do to catch up to where they are right now during the regular season. But the impatience last night, I mean, 2 games, you got one tonight against the Avalanche. Do you read anything out of that Oilers game last night? I guess we've been talking about Warren Foegele and the year he's been having. I mean, it's just spoken for itself, but 20 goals, career high, 21 assists, career high points as well. He was a shining light. But anything else you're pulling out of that Oilers game in terms of just health across the board? Score be damned, but let's just cycle the lines, keep all things healthy and all things fresh, or anything else you're pulling out of last night's affair?
No, that's exactly it. Listen, this is an emotional night, and there's a ton going on. I feel like it's a huge distraction in terms of what they're trying to accomplish, but you try to pull the positives out of it. I thought the fourth line had a great job. There's guys vying for playoff spots and rosters in, Janmark, Sammy Carrick scored last night,
10 now
Connor Brown, all guys that want to be starting on the roster and playing against whoever it may be in the first rounds. So I thought they did a great job. Getting scored on early sucks. Sammy got hit in the neutral zone and ends up eating a minus because he doesn't beat his check back. And the response of coming back and getting your team on the board, I'll take a positive out of that. And I thought young Phillip Broberg looked pretty good. He skated well. I don't know if he meant to, but he snowed the goalie one time, had a little bit of attitude there. I was laughing at that. I was like, I wonder if the kid meant to do that, but he was skating well. He passed the puck well. I didn't think he made any crazy mistakes that cost them too much. And I think that's nice to know going forward that, if you get in a position where you have to inject guys in, Stetch and Broberg, I think, can step in and probably do a job for them. So you try to look at the positives and move on to Colorado. I think the biggest thing, right, is keeping guys healthy. And you said that is, I don't know if that's on their minds. It probably is a bit in terms of not wanting to get injured, but the big boys won't be playing against the Avs. I was dying during the intermission when Stoff was talking to Gene, and Gene's trying to sell everyone to watch the last game of the season, and Stoff's like, well, no Connor, no Hyman, no Draisaitl, but you guys should still watch. Still be a good game.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned Broberg as well, and an assist, 1650 ice time. I mean, even if the snow shower, I think he spoke too about confidence pregame, and Holloway was talking about confidence and how these two guys have kind of grown down the stretch here in Bakersfield. And that's, I mean, I know Gagne and Ernie were recalled yesterday as well, but you got to love the confidence and just the growth in terms of Broberg and Holloway, just in terms of how they speak and carrying themselves right now. Great vibes heading into a postseason run.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that's not always the case in the American League. Every organization is run differently, and I've played for a number of AHL teams that sometimes have a disconnect between the parent franchise and what they're trying to accomplish. But going down there can certainly help your confidence, give you tons of touches, tons of reps. I think what Colin Chalk has going down there is something special. I had the opportunity to talk to Slater Cuckoo earlier in the year, and I'll never forget the conversation I had with him on my podcast about how Colin helped him towards the end of his career and the atmosphere that he was curating down there in Bakersfield. And so they're obviously doing something right down there in terms of, making guys feel good and giving them the opportunities that they need to, and also being in sync with, the ideas and the philosophies that the Oilers up top want them to. So it's a great league to go down there, get a ton of minutes, get a ton of reps, feel the puck, play against some, subpar competition in terms of what you're facing up top. But certainly Phillip's a benefactor of that, and Dylan's been outstanding. Has he ever pushed for a playoff job here? opinion, personally, I'm still kind of on the fence of this. I think he starts out. I think if they were playing anybody but Vegas, he starts in. But since it's Vegas, I think they keep the fourth line status quo. But what a benefit to have of him sitting outside the lineup, looking in, a hungry, young, motivated player who can hopefully make a difference down the line here.
And Luke, there's been a lot of talk about the Hart Trophy decision this year and how it's coming down to the 4 finalists that, given any other year, any of those 4 finalists probably would have been the runaway winner. But, and this is a 2-part question. I'll ask you this first. Where do you see this shaking up? Is Nathan MacKinnon running away with this at this point, or not running away with it? But is he the clear leader? Heading into the last night or last 2 nights of regular season play.
So here's kind of where I'm sitting on this, and this sucks for Oiler fans to hear. But for as good of a year as Connors have, and how he dragged them back into it, he's probably not even going to be nominated, which is crazy to think. I think Cooch will be there. Cooch sounds like the very popular vote right now, but to me, I know he has 54 more points than the next guy on his team in Braden Point, but he also has 53 points on the power play, and he has 14 empty net points. 7 of those are goals. I take huge stock in that. For a player that's not incredible defensively, to have 50 plus points, and I know Nate has 47, but I think Nate, I think this is Nate's trophy. I think everything that he's done this year from top to bottom, from start to finish, I look at the ice time is one for me that's insane, where he's averaging 25 minutes a night and has the entire season. He's played more minutes out of any forward in the National Hockey League, plays against top lines. And I think Austin has made a real case for it. And I don't care if it's 69 or 70. I know 70 is a nice round number, and I might have some Toronto bias here, but out of those 4 guys that I mentioned, including Connor, he has the best defensive stats by a mile and plays against every single top center that comes through here. Talk about takeaways, face-off percentage, even strength goals, even strength points. He has come a long way. So if I'm voting or ranking right now, I think I'll tell you guys it's Nate 1, it's Austin 2, it's Cooch 3, and unfortunately it's Connor 4. That's just
Connor doesn't make your podium, hey?
And you know what? I might change that the second I get off here, but I just don't know I don't know who you knock out. I don't know who slips out for him. I think what Austin's done is incredible. To be that good defensively and have the numbers he does, and to be considered for a Selke trophy, but also have 69 goals is absolutely wild.
Now, to follow up with that, obviously, a lot of these candidates are captains or assistant captains on their respective teams. Had a question come in on the inbox this morning, the Paris Jewelers inbox from KCF. Question for Gazdic: have you ever been on a team where the captain shouldn't have been the captain?
Oh man, I was just going to say, you're asking me to throw someone under the bus, but I guess I could tell about a situation, but not necessarily.
Maybe don't name names, but what it was like and what you went through as players in that locker room. No, because in 11 years, I was only on, now that I'm counting back, I was only on 3 instances, one in the minors, where I watched the captain get named. One of them was Andrew Ferentz in Edmonton. One of them was Sam Carrick in San Diego. And one of them was Jamie Benn in Dallas. And to be honest, I think all 3 were outstanding picks. Listen, I know how the Ferentz one kind of sat in Edmonton. At the start, I think it looked like this great thing, him coming over from Boston, having a ton of experience, Stanley Cup champion, Edmonton native, and all that. I think there was a bit of discourse there in them wanting to name maybe someone younger. And I really had a good relationship with Fair. Fair called it like it was. He was extremely honest. When we were in the dressing room, he gave it to us a couple times for not just on ice, but off ice things. And I had a really good relationship with Andrew. So
I'll say that out of 11 years, I watched 3 captains get named, and I thought all of them were incredible choices. So I got nobody to bury for you.
Hockey analyst Luke Gazdic joining us this morning on the Nielsen Show, Edmonton Sports Talk. You can find us iHeart, TuneIn Radio, and on YouTube. Lieutenant Eric, Jason Milne, Zacticum behind the monitors. You can check out Luke Gazdic, Sportsnet analyst, also host of the Mitsoff Pod. I just wanted to get Luke zooming out to the playoff picture in a few series. Obviously, the one we're watching here out west, not set just yet. That'll be determined later tonight. Golden Knights and Kings will both play out their final game to determine who draws the Oilers and who draws the Stars. But we do have some series set. We do have some games also set Saturday and Sunday. But Bruins Leafs, I mean, that jumps off the page for a lot of people here. What else are you looking forward to in these Stanley Cup playoffs, opening round specifically in terms of matchups, storylines, rivalries, and that sort of thing?
Yeah, good question. I think out east here is going to be interesting. No one here in Toronto wanted to draw Boston, and I think you can understand why. I haven't beaten them in the playoffs in 1959, haven't beaten them in a game in 3 years.
It is 59, hey, back to the 50s, correct?
Yeah, 1959 was the last time the Leafs beat the Bruins in the playoffs. I don't mind the matchup, though, to be honest, just strictly on paper and from them having to play Florida as the other scenario. Yeah. I like the Boston matchup better. I really hope this Leaf team is ready for it. It's going to be a tough series, probably go 7. But matchup wise, I don't mind that for Toronto. They got to start with hopefully a win or pick up one in Boston and go from there. On the west side, I'm really excited to watch Colorado and Winnipeg go at it. Yeah. And it's
with the Jets having home ice advantage of all things. Hey, I mean,
I know. And it's crazy. It's just the way the playoffs are formatted. I thought, they both had outstanding seasons, and one of them, both of them are probably Stanley Cup contenders, and one of them are going to go home real early here. So out west, that's what I'm looking for. Obviously keeping an eye on what's going to happen with the Oil here. Not sure what's going to happen or if I really want Vegas in round 1. But there's definitely going to be some great series. And you know what? I should add out east to the Battle of Florida with Tampa and Florida playing is going to be a heck of a hockey series. Those teams are going to beat the heck out of each other. And it's going to be a fun playoffs to watch. Honestly, I'm really excited to see how things shake out.
Should be good. And again, following tonight, we'll see. Just one quick one for you. I mean, if you were either Vegas or LA, I mean, would you I mean, again, we have to preface this with they're all hard games. You're in the playoffs. They're all hard teams. I get that. But you're Vegas or LA. I mean, who would you rather not see, Dallas or Edmonton? Who would you, in those skates of those teams, who would you rather avoid or who would you rather match up against in terms of either the Oilers or the Stars?
Oh, man. I think this is nothing against the Oilers, but I think they want to avoid Dallas first and foremost. That is a team that has no trouble scoring goals and depth from top to bottom. But at the same time, are you really? You better be careful what you wish for with a playoff McDavid and a playoff Draisaitl. So it's like, which one do you want here? They play a little differently. I think it is a tougher atmosphere to come into Edmonton and win than it is to go on the road in Dallas and win. But Dallas is a little more high flying. I think LA would have their hands full with the Stars. I think it would be a tough defensive system to play with 4 lines that roll and love to, feast off transition and love to send the wingers down the walls. Like I think LA would have a very hard time with Dallas and will. I think Vegas secretly wants Edmonton, and I think they should be careful what they wish for because I love Edmonton having them right off the bat with home ice advantage.
Home ice,
some of the best hockey I've seen Edmonton play over the last couple of years was the first round of the playoffs versus LA. And with home ice advantage, Mark Stone's coming in to play the first games he has in a couple months. Hurdle's still getting used to the system. Aiden Hill's banged up. Get after him. Why not?
That's the thing, Luke, like, these guys are coming back, but they're not. It does take you a little bit of time to get up to speed, and to just kind of parachute in for game 1 of the playoffs doesn't necessarily translate to immediate success.
100%. It's gonna take some time, and that's been my MO on Vegas here. Is they're going to get better and better as they go on. Every series that they pick up, they're going to get better and better. So why not? Why not try and handle them in round 1? And it looks as if it's going to be that way, but we'll see what happens tonight, guys.
Well, you said that secretly you think Vegas wants the Oilers. I think secretly Oilers fans want Vegas too. So that could be a match made in heaven.
It's gonna be. We had the privilege of being down there for that Vegas game just in the spring and February, and that, I mean, give me 100 more of those, please. I mean, it's just the fan base down there is into it. Maybe a little ignorant at times, but you can't fault them for heart. And I think it's a great rivalry that's developed. Also one that they've been having with the Kings over the past couple years. But Luke, we appreciate your time. If you could let the listeners and viewers know where we can see you next, where we can hear you next, where we can find you next, anything going on with the Mitts Off Pod, and where you'll be on our TV screens coming up here.
So, if anyone out there watches Hockey Central, it's my last one tonight, and then the playoff schedule is up in the air here. So we're not really sure because there's 4 Canadian teams. So we'll see how they work the panels. Hopefully, I get some playoff appearances on the network. I have 2 playoff previews dropping on the Mitts Off Pod Friday. Oilers and whoever they're playing. I'm going to be co-hosting it with my buddy Mike Fuda, Stanley Cup champion GM with the LA Kings. And then I'm actually going to do a preview on the Toronto Boston with Andrew Raycroft, who works rinkside for the Bruins. So I'm doing a split pod series to preview those 2. Hopefully you see me on Sportsnet. And to be honest, guys, I'll be out there next week. So you guys might even see me for maybe game 2 or game 5. Gonna try to figure this out. I'm out for the Alzheimer's Society Pro-Am next weekend in Edmonton, so I will be boots on the ground in Alberta.
Sweet. Hopefully Dustin Nielsen, you two can kind of cross paths. Don't be a stranger. Always the door is wide open for you here, Luke. But we appreciate your time as always. Have an enjoyable rest of your week, and enjoy the opening round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, guys. You guys are the best. Go Oil.